points, try and gather some reference pictures to inspire and help you create your character designs. So for example, if you wanted to make a game filled with cartoony looking animals, you should check out pictures of real animals which you can then exaggerate and simplify to make your own unique pieces. In this case, I'm sketching ideas for a player character that is supposed to run left and right and dodge hazards. I think this one is the coolest, a sort of fire character, which gives me an idea. Why not have him dodge a bunch of frosty, ice-clad spirits that tumble down from the heavens? Anyway, once you're happy with your sketch, you can begin the inking phase. This is when you clean up messy lines and make the character look clean and ready to be animated. Now, we'll be animating this character inside of the Unity game engine, so we can't just draw the character in one whole piece like this and then export that to Unity. We need to draw each body part we wish to move independently on a separate layer, so that later on we can export a file that looks like this, with each body part slightly apart from the rest. We'll then need to assemble the character in Unity again, and they'll be ready to be animated. Now, of course, you might not be that interested in making any animations for your first game, in which case you can skip the parts dedicated to that and come back later. You might want to simply focus on the programming and Unity technical side. If so, just make a little square or circle for the player character and use that. You can always come back later and add cool looking art and animations on top of that. So I'll start with the head, for example. I'll create a new layer and call it head, and now using Photoshop's default hard round brush, I'll go over my sketch layer, which by the way has a lowered opacity, and make the outline of the character's head. To make the lines look smooth and cartoony, I'm trying to go fast. If you hesitate or make the outline slowly, your line will be a bit shaky and weird, which is an art style in itself, but yeah, for this project I want cartoony, crisp looking characters with smooth outlines. With the head complete, I'll make another layer called body, and I'll use that to outline the body. And I'll do the same for the left and right arms, and left and right legs. Now I'll add some color. I'll start with the head, creating a new layer which I'll left click and drag under the head one, and use that to color in the head. Then I'll shift select the head layer and the color layer, right click and choose merge layers. You might notice how my head is currently rendering behind the body. This is because in most 2D applications, stuff drawn on top layers renders in front of stuff drawn on lower layers. So I'll simply left click and drag my head layer on top of all the other layers so that it renders in front of them all. And now I'll color in the body, arms and legs. With that done, our character is almost ready to be exported inside of Unity to be animated. I'm going to now create a new Photoshop file, again just 7 inches wide and 5 inches long. I'll then head back to the file I used to draw my player character, select the head layer and then grab my lasso tool. I'll outline the whole character with that and hit Ctrl C on my keyboard to copy the selection, and then Ctrl V to paste that on my new file. And I'll repeat that process for all the other body parts that make up my character. I can then select the various layers which hold my different body parts, and hit Ctrl T in Photoshop to move them around the file. I'll make sure to separate each one so that in Unity I can then slice them in something called the Sprite Editor. Okay, awesome. The character is ready to be brought to life inside of Unity. I'm going to disable the background layer so that it's transparent and crop the file by hitting C on my keyboard. This will let us reduce or increase the size of the file. So currently there's all this useless empty white space, which I'm going to get rid of by selecting the edges and dragging. Then go over to File, Export as PNG, and I'll find my Unity project folder and save my player character inside of that. Now I'll head inside of Unity, and normally you'll see the player character sprites right here. As I'm at it, I'm also going to draw some enemy characters. Quick reminder, these enemies are going to fall from the sky and try squashing the player. So again, I'm going to sketch out some ideas on a new Photoshop file. I think the enemies should look like meteors, perhaps also surrounded by flames like the player's head. I'll make a few variations for these hazards, so that we can then spawn random ones to make everything feel a bit more exciting and less repetitive. It'll also be a cool opportunity for us to make hazards that are faster, or that deal more or less damage. When I have sketches I'm happy with, I'll ink my designs. Again, just taking a basic hard round brush and trying to make a smooth outline on a new layer. I won't animate these basic meteor-like shapes, so I can draw the whole thing on a single layer. But of course, if you want to animate your enemies, make sure to draw each body part you wish to move independently on a separate layer, just like we did for the player. And then finally I'll add some color. I'll make these enemies a cold, fierce blue to contrast with the orange, fiery player. Now I'll merge the ink and color layers together. And then I'll crop my file and export my enemies as a PNG inside of Unity, right next to the player file. And note that you can easily make a change to your file by simply re-exporting as a PNG inside of your Unity project to update that file. Great, so in the next video we will assemble the player character inside of Unity, ready to be programmed by Liam and then animated. Until then, I urge you to make your very own player character and enemies. It doesn't matter if they look cool or not. The most important is that you enjoy yourself. Getting good at something, be that drawing, animating, or programming, takes time. So don't be too hard on yourself, and don't expect yourself to make amazing things overnight. Okay, with that said, I'll see you soon. Cheers!